So, Steve, we are back in the Fantasy Football Funhouse, and
Yes,
there are three of us here tonight, but only two of us here right now.
that's right. Punctuality is something that's very important to me as a person. I think it shows a lot about your character. And yeah, it goes to show you and I are the only ones that have shown up promptly for this podcast. We know who feels important here.
I really wasn't going to do any of that and try to make Kevin feel even worse, but Steve did it on the playback. Kevin will definitely feel like a big pile of crap. But Kevin will be joining us tonight. But let's get into it. It was draft weekend for us, and we both have many more drafts coming up this week. And I checked in, I believe, on Monday morning, and I looked back at some things you typed the night before in the falafel chat. And
yeah,
I had to reach out and say, Steve, did you drink and draft last night? Because that was the vibe I got. You committed cardinal sin, number one at the draft, which is to drink excessively to the point that you screwed a team up. So why don't you and be honest with you, I actually saw the team and didn't think it was that bad. So tell the people how things went for you in this league with small children.
They're not small children. They are all of age, the same age as I am. It's my home league. And actually, Jason Tran, who everyone knows is one of the hosts of the Gut Feels podcast, he was added to my own home league to the point because
that doesn't make it a home league anymore.
He knows actually a few of the players that are in this league, a few of the other team owners. We have, social media, video games, which is, unfortunately in negative light came into the spotlight this week.
Brace yourself for nerd talk, folks.
I'm just saying, a few of the members of my home league have played video games with Jason, so a lot of people know him. He was added to this league. But yeah, we had a live draft on Sunday. It was at a bar, so yes, there was drinking involved. I landed the 8th spot in a 10-team draft. So, not deep by any means, and pretty standard as far as setup. And, it's not 2 QB, it's not super flex, it's not anything like that. And I came away from that draft feeling as terrible as I've ever felt in a draft in a long time. And I must say, I posted it as soon as I drafted it. The next day, I was really upset with it. The more as time has gone on, I've kind of come to accept the fact that it might be okay as time goes by. As the season draws on, I started with Odell Beckham, Julio Jones. I got Russell Wilson, Travis Kelce, T.Y. Hilton. That is everyone surrounding it. As you may have noticed, I have not mentioned a running back yet. So my starting running backs in that league right now, Alex Collins and Carlos Hyde. They are not sexy names. Alex Collins is a name that Sal mentioned numerous times during last year's podcast during the NFL season. Ended the year as running back 18, I believe, in half PPR leagues. And then I have Carlos Hyde, who I was surprised to see that, and he ended the year as running back 9. So these are not guys that are just, nobodies, but they're not the sexy names either. But I proceeded to fill my bench with 6 more running backs, one of which is Jamal Williams. So another reason why I should not worry, because he's an RB2 instantly at the beginning of the season. And yeah, as time has gone by, I felt okay. So
basically you can't even drunk draft correctly.
No, I can't.
Actually, what we're saying is, you drinking equals better draft. It sounds like the drinking fixed your bad drafting.
You were saying that had I been completely sober during this draft, I would have come away with the worst team.
I don't know that I'm saying that. I'm thinking past history is saying that. History's speaking for you. It's not me that's saying these things.
It's entirely possible. But the more I look at it, the more I dissect the team. I look around at other teams. I try and figure out possible trades. I don't want to give away any of my 3 wide receivers that I have that will be able to start every single week. T.Y. Hilton, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham. I'm never going to start anybody over them. So as long as I've got my running back situation figured out, if everyone stays healthy around that core, I should be okay. I have come to grips. I feel okay. I'm going to hold pat.
All right. Well, fantastic for you. As I was starting to say before we got into this, we all have more drafts coming up this week. And some of the viewers or listeners who are checking us out in the car or wherever they are at work right now also have some drafts coming up this week. This is this is National Draft Week.
National Draft Day was on Sunday, evidently, or Saturday. One of those days.
I drafted on Saturday in my old school home league. So
Cousin Donald's league, right?
Some cousin Donald, as he was anointed by Matthew Berry. Yes, and my son was added this year. And I feel like my son and I came away with the 2 best teams in that league. I was impressed.
That's surprising. I'm super surprised to hear that.
I was impressed by the way he drafted, which basically means he had the 5 pick, I had the 6. He sniped me consistently. If you were to see his team, you'd go, "Oh, that's your team?" I'd be like, "No, it's the other Sal's team."
The better Sal.
So let's get into some news while waiting for Kevin to join us, because I planned out a very lovely show that needs Kevin. So hopefully he actually does come back.
Sounds like jealousy got the best of him.
Okay. Let's go over a couple of players that are in the news today, Steve. Let's start with Chris Thompson. Jay Gruden says that Chris Thompson looks fantastic. You know, Chris Thompson had come out and said he probably won't be 100% to November, right? Way people thought he would be on the PUP list. He wouldn't be playing, but all signs point to him stepping right into his normal role, catching passes, and probably playing alongside Adrian Peterson, of all people. We'll have to see how that shakes out. So are you excited to see Chris Thompson back in play?
Yeah, definitely. He's an exciting player to watch. We saw what he could do last year, but I also, at the same time, I hope that Jay Gruden realizes what he did last year is probably not something that Chris Thompson could do again this year. So he should realize that he's coming back from an injury. He should realize that he's got a running back with a skill set such as Adrian Peterson, who also might not be able to put up with the same type of workload that he's used to, and find the right, the right split between the two where they can coexist together and complement the team in a way that they can be utilized well. They've got a decent wide receiver, core with Paul Richardson, Josh Dotson, and Jamison Crowder. They've got Jordan Reed, who's coming back from injury. All signs are pointing to him being healthy. And then they've got Alex Smith, who is renowned for taking care of the ball, not turning the ball over. So, and they've also got a great offensive line. This offense has pieces that can make them be a very viable offense. So as long as the coaching staff can use them right, doesn't overplay either one of these guys, I think that they can really complement each other very well, where they're both viable. And I'm excited to see what they can do. I like both of these players right now.
And speaking of players that were injured last year and didn't play, and we were all excited for, we've spoken about this player a lot on this podcast, and that's Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, he injured his foot in last week's game, and I was watching some of the highlights of that game, and he's got to go down. I mean, he's running. He has no idea who's behind him. He's just taking risks that we don't need him to take after what he's gone through the last couple of seasons. He doesn't slide. He ends up with an injured foot. They say he will be back at practice a week from yesterday. Next Monday, he'll be back at practice. But this worries me already. The first time he's actually had some extended gameplay, it's not the existing injury. It's not a former injury. It's a new thing with the foot. Got to be concerned about this, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone was ready to go gung-ho with him, ourselves included. We all talked about how, Andrew Luck he's back. He's throwing. He's not had any kind of setbacks. But then he comes up with this new injury, different part of his body. This is not the first time that he's come up with a new injury. The shoulder was not the first thing. He had another freak type of accident with, I believe it was a lacerated kidney, just like something that Keenan Allen had, or something towards his abdomen. It's just not good to hear. So you're hoping that it's on the minor side, that he is able to come back. It's not something that's going to linger by any means, but definitely heading into this weekend where a lot of leagues wait until after the end of the 4th preseason game to make their drafts. They don't want to deal with injuries. They don't want to have anything to do with that. It's something they have to pay attention to, and it might cause his value to drop a little bit. And then that's going to be the risk you're having to evaluate live. Those are the decisions that are the toughest to make, Sal.
2 rookie running backs progressing well. Sony Michel is back at practice after missing quite a bit of time. He was a rookie draft favorite throughout the dynasty community early on, and then he has dropped significantly in redraft leagues down to like the 8th or 9th round, where he was also going around the 4th or 5th round earlier in draft. So still got a lot to shake out in that offense. Rex Burkhead is back practicing, I believe, but also had a little bit of a tear in the knee. James White has looked every bit as good as he has in the past in the passing game. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out in typical New England fashion. Marlon Mack is making good progress, but I'm not sure that Marlon Mack will play in week 1, and I don't think the team is sure that he'll play in week 1. That's something you definitely want to keep your eyes on. Look like Jordan Wilkins is the benefactor of both Naheem Hines playing poorly in the preseason and Marlon Mack getting injured. We all know that the other guy that's there is Christian Michael, and if you're scared of Christian Michael, then you're an idiot. He'll be gone soon. What did you want to say, Steve?
3 years that we've done this podcast, we have not been able to not talk about Christian Michael one time.
Yeah,
he's never gone away. It's like Kevin.
Kevin is back.
I feel like he hasn't been on every podcast we've done. I mean, we mention him every year, maybe.
I said every season. That's
I mean,
all right.
He's the ghost of Christian Michael. I mean, you can't get rid of him. He's going to haunt us until we stop playing fantasy football, I feel.
It's brutal.
It's very rough.
For those of you who are not watching and you're listening to this the first time, Kevin is back after just ignoring us for the first 10 minutes of the show. He is back. Kevin, we're just going over some quick news before we get into a little ADP Who Would You Rather fun that we're going to do tonight. And the next guy I want to bring up is Doug Baldwin. He came out today and said he's about 80 to 85%. His knee will be something that needs to be monitored all year. This is something that was being talked about a lot in the Falafel chat on the Fantasy Life app today, which you could find all three of us in there throughout the day. It's starting to pick up a lot more now. We're answering a ton of questions. It's very similar to old times. It's getting back to normal. And obviously, somebody mentioned Tyler Lockett, and poof, in came Kevin. And Kevin, I want to tell you that.
I swear it was a coincidence.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Before I let Kevin speak on these two players, and briefly, James Coe tweeted today, James Coe, formerly of NFL.com, NFL Media, and will now be working for DirecTV this upcoming year, doing a fantasy football version of Red Zone, which should be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
He said that if you're not taking a shot on Tyler Lockett in the 12th plus round this year, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, you are. You're out of your mind if you are not taking a shot on Tyler Lockett. Steve, I don't have the ADP up. Usually you're good for that. Are you good for that tonight?
Yeah.
Where is Tyler Lockett going in the ADP? On 4for4.com is typically where we usually use 12 team. I don't know if you guys have gone over this yet today, but it usually is 12 team unless we give you otherwise.
Wide receiver 53 going 53. Round 1301 in 12 team leagues.
So in the 13th round, you can get a wide receiver who very well could be the wide receiver 1 on his team, given the news that came out about Doug Baldwin today, that he's going to be monitoring his knee. You know what that says to me, Sal? That means that they are monitoring snap count as well. And I'm guessing he's probably not going to run as many routes as he normally does. Doug Baldwin's an incredibly productive receiver. We've talked about this multiple times. He's a wide receiver 1, for I don't know how many years in a row now, or at least high-end wide receiver 2. Very productive. He's Russell Wilson's go-to guy, but Tyler Lockett is a very talented young player. If he can stay on the field, he's very fast. He can catch. He runs routes better than I think most people give him credit for. If you remember back to Matt Harmon's, reception perception on him, he had a great route tree, which is one of the reasons that Matt Harmon was so high on him back in the day. And I'll tell you, I think this is the year for him. Obviously, I'm a Lockett lover. There's no question about that. I did give my vows to him in the Falafel chat today. I pledged my undying love, and I will continue to do so. But I really do think that at wide receiver 53, you're getting a guy who's easily going to outproduce his ADP.
Yeah, I think that should be a shirt. You should be wearing Lockett Lover on Sundays going forward. And,
I have a Lockett. I don't know if you knew that.
Odd.
That is odd.
I will say this, Kevin. He's a crazy value at 53, and I'm just starting to win me over a little bit. Steve-O, what's up, bud?
I was just gonna say your little diatribe there, your speech, it convinced me in the league I was just talking about, where I have very limited wide receiver depth, a lot of running backs. I have to be able to get some value somewhere else. So I just added Tyler Lockett to my team. I found him on the waiver wire. He was a free agent ad. I just added him live. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, even better, because then I'll just get to roast you for it. So I appreciate this, Kevin. And if
did I
it
miss
pays
the
off,
part where we roasted Steve for his draft? Did I miss that already?
Yeah, we
You
got
did.
into that already. And as it turned out, the draft wasn't all terrible, Kevin. I came to the conclusion that drinking actually helped Steve draft better.
So, it doesn't surprise me.
Let's move along. We'll get on to Alshon Jeffrey is going to miss at least the first 2 games, maybe more. This upswings Nelson Aguilar, who, by the way, also has not played in the preseason, but says he is ready to play right away. And
who is playing?
Really, legitimately nobody. The Eagles are, whatever the spread is in that game on opening night Thursday night, if the Falcons are getting even a point, I'm going to be taking the Falcons in that game. That is going to be very scary. Steve is going to look that up right now. Steve, is that what you're doing for me? Do you have that in front of you, sir?
You'd think he'd already put money on this game, but yeah, I agree with you, Sal. There's no chance that I'm touching the Eagles in any way, shape, or form in that game. I don't know who's going to be the lead running back. I don't know who's going to catch the ball outside of Ertz. And I don't even know who's going to throw the ball, really, to be quite honest. We don't know about Wentz. I mean, we assume he's going to be ready, but we don't know for sure. Foles looked awful this preseason, so we don't know if he's going to be the guy that he was in the Super Bowl. It's just a mess.
Foles is foleying around. Steve-O, you have the numbers for me?
Yes, that is Eagles -3 right now.
I mean,
so that is
bet the house.
That is basic home field advantage. It is, Vegas is viewing those teams as the same, and because the Eagles are at home, they are getting 3 points. That is what that is.
The Falcons are healthy. Everybody is healthy. We know what that team can do. We saw what they did 2 years ago. I Super Bowl hangover written all over it. That's going to be an interesting game.
You know what, though, Sal? Doesn't it give you the feeling that it might be like a 10-7 game or something like that? Everyone's going to expect big numbers out of this game. With
the fantasy community would be.
And then I feel like it'll just end up being a dud. Because both defenses are improved. Both defenses are going to play well.
You are a habitual pessimist, though.
That's factually correct. So
typical Thursday night game Kevin's trying to bring to us. All right, before we get started with the ADP thing, 2 more players we'll touch on. Jerick McKinnon is taking part in conditioning drills. He is completely on par to start week 1, and George Kittle was also back at practice today. So plan your drafts accordingly with those 2 players. Steve, Kevin, anything else you guys want to add from today's news?
I don't know if this was today, and I don't know if we've talked about this, but did San Francisco sign Alfred Morris?
Oh, yeah. Alfred Morris has been in there for about a week now, I'd say.
Really?
Yes.
Has it been that long? Because I heard that today, and I was like, really? How is that not getting more publicity?
Familiar with the Shanahan offense.
With McKinnon banged up, and I mean, to me, that's a little more important than people seem to be glossing over it.
So there's word that he may or may not make the roster, but it's interesting. Steve?
We also thought that Alfred Morris was going to potentially take some snaps and some opportunity away from players on Dallas last year, and he didn't really end up doing that. With McKinnon coming back and him being more healthy, with a few other running backs being on the roster, and then I believe they also signed another running back today who is supposed to add a little bit more depth, it's going to be pretty questionable. I think it has received the absolute perfect amount of coverage that has been deserved.
Dwight Peebles in the chat on the YouTube channel right now saying Morris went 17 for 84 this weekend in a preseason game. So Sal or Steve, it seems like you're wrong. I'm just throwing that out there.
They had to run somebody.
Adrian Peterson. It is Flashback Tuesday.
It's like 2014 all over again.
All right, guys. Before we get into our stuff with the Quant Edge, you can find us on gridironexperts.com, our new family, our new home. You can find our feed there. You can go there and find tons of great articles. We just wrapped up a 16-team draft with a lot of the guys who are doing work over there at the Gridiron Experts. We thank them very much for inviting us to be a part of the family.
My team's phenomenal in that league, by the way.
My team's better. My
team's very good, with the exception of not getting John Brown. Thank you.
Oh, he's nestled nicely in my roster. Yeah, so that's fantastic. So, guys, are you tired of getting crushed by the pros? DFS players and sports bettors, listen up. TheQuantEdge.com has the tools you need to play like a pro. With our lineup optimizer, injury tool, wide receiver cornerback matchups, and head-to-head tool, you will be armed with everything you need to win. Make up to 150 lineups in seconds. See matchups to exploit and compare players to help you make the right decision you're on the fence about at TheQuantEdge.com. You'll get exclusive access to our industry experts, articles, podcasts, and the TQE community by participating in the premium membership chat. We at the Fantasy Football Funhouse have a special deal for our loyal listeners. Using promo code FFFunhouse, you can get 10% off the season-long subscription. You have to act fast. You have a little bit more than just tonight. You have till August 31st, but that's it. Once September 1st rolls around, it's not free anymore, and you're going to be paying full price. So if you didn't take advantage of the 15 and the 20% that we had sooner, do this now. Do this before it turns to September 1st, and you'll be really happy that you did. Go to thequantedge.com, sign up today. FF Funhouse is the code you need to put in.
Yeah, usually when Sal does this read, we have like 3 hours left in the night, and you have to sign up before the end to get the discount. We're giving you 3 whole days this time, so get in there. Nice. You know, you have some time. Get in there and you know, take a look at all their tools, because that stuff's really awesome. It's definitely going to help you win your league. Steve, I suggest you you get in there and look at it, because it's very clear that you need the help.
He's got nothing to even say to that.
He can't argue, can he?
So sad.
You know what? We're gonna track. We're in a lot of leagues together, right, guys?
I think so.
Right?
We're gonna track records. We're gonna write records on the floor.
You bet your ass we are. We're going to track who ends on top of who, which might sound weird right now.
Yeah, that's a really odd way to put that. I think
we're all gonna understand what that means. And yeah, we'll see what happens at the end of the season.
What are you doing?
I've got both of you guys beating the Gridirons League, guaranteed.
All right, guys, I thought it would be fun with drafts this week to we did all of our value picks last week and our breakout players we like and stuff like that, to just go through the ADP and find players at the same position that are within one spot of each other, or at the most I have a couple of guys that might be 3 spots away from each other. But generally, you're going to be needing to make a decision between these players in your upcoming drafts. And for most of them, except the rookies, I will be using the QuantEdge.com's head-to-head tool to go over their statistics, and for you guys to tell me which player you feel is a better value at that spot and who you'd rather go with. Are we ready, gentlemen?
I was born ready.
So it's a would you rather of fantasy football, if you will.
It is a fantasy would you rather.
All right.
All right, so we're going to start in the first round, and we're going to work our way all the way down into, you know, picks up into 100s. Okay, so we're going to start out with.
It's always Tyler Lockett.
All right, so you would take Tyler Lockett over Saquon Barkley. Excellent choice.
Good.
Going in, so this will be from the 4x4.
If you think he's going to be a wide receiver 1, you should take him in the first round.
He's not a wide receiver 1. Let's not go crazy.
He's not Dante Moncrief 2 years ago.
This will be from 4for4.com's ADP, as we spoke about earlier. So going number 6 overall in a recent ADP is Alvin Kamara, last year's rookie breakout stud running back. And going number 7 overall is Saquon Barkley, this year's expected breakout running back. So I don't have any statistics on Barkley yet, because he hasn't played. So we'll just go off of these 2 players. We'll start with Kevin. Kevin, you're picking 6th overall. AB went 5. The other 4 running backs are gone. Who are you turning to, Kamara or Barkley?
So, yeah, in a couple of leagues, I've had this choice, and it's actually been, I think, about 4 leagues I've had this choice. I think I've split 2 and 2. I think I've gone Barkley 2 and Kamara 2, so it's pretty even for me. If I have to choose right now, which obviously you're making me, I'm going to lean towards Kamara only because I've seen it happen. We all know that Barkley is a special talent, and we expect him to do big things this year, but we haven't seen it before. We don't know for a fact that it's going to happen. He's already got hamstrings injuries, which makes me a little nervous. And on top of that, the Giants' offense has been very up and down the last couple of years. Now, granted, they haven't had a running back as talented as Saquon Barkley, but We know they've had struggles with the offensive line, which hopefully they've improved with the addition of Nate Solder and the guard Will Hernandez that they drafted. But they also have the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. They have Sterling Shepard, who Steve thinks is going to catch 100 balls as well. They have, Evan Ingram, who's one of the better tight ends in the league. And that's just a lot of options when it comes to, the passing game. So I don't know that that Barkley's going to catch as many passes as everyone else thinks. And Kamara, I think, has that kind of baked in. We've seen it happen before. And he doesn't have competition with Mark Ingram for the first 4 games. So I'm going to lean towards Kamara, but it's very close.
Steve, by the way, stunned by your accusation of him saying Shepard would catch 100 passes. Steve, is it Barkley or Kamara for you?
I got to ask, are we, for the entirety of this, is there any one type of league setting? Or are we just going half-point PPR?
It's actually the TQE settings that I have they're set up as full point PPR.
Okay.
So we're going to be going off based on full point PPR.
Okay, so knowing that, and I'm sure Kevin would probably more solidify his answer with that, I would probably lean slightly towards Kamara as well because of everything that he mentioned. Kamara is going to have that full workload for the most part during the first 4 games until Ingram comes back. And when Ingram does come back, he's still going to get some run, out of the backfield. And then he'll also have a lot of that passing down work as well. So I'd probably lean slightly towards him as well. It's very close. Saquon Barkley is a generational running back talent. He's great, but we've seen Kamara do everything before. Like Kevin said, I can't argue with him. It disgusts me. I don't enjoy it. It makes me feel like I have to shower after the podcast. But I'm going to go Kamara, but I'm not going to argue either way. If you want to go Barkley, it could definitely end up going that way.
So I have to stop you for a minute because I use Pro Football Reference a lot when we're podcasting to sort of look up information as we go along. And I don't know if you've ever been on the site. It's a great site for just general information, stats, and things like that. But when you type in a player's name, typically it starts filtering out all the players with similar names. There's one other Kamara in NFL history, and his name is Amara Kamara. Which, sorry, I felt like I had to share that. So go ahead and look up Amara Kamara. He was a linebacker.
Was he good?
I have no idea. There's no stats.
So the IDP community just raised their eyebrows.
Anyway, Amara Kamara. So yeah,
let's move along so we can try to get as many of these guys in as possible. We're going to go to 2 wide receivers now. DeAndre Hopkins comes in at number 8, and Odell Beckham Jr. comes in at number 12. I've actually seen it going a lot closer than that in drafts. I'm surprised it's only 4 spots, but I was in drafts over this weekend, and I saw OBJ going earlier than DeAndre Hopkins and some of them. We just spoke about the big new contract. We're going to use the TQE head-to-head tool to go over this guy. So I'm comparing actually Odell Beckham Jr.'s 2016 statistics to Nuke's 2017 because it's a more comprehensive comparison. So last year, full point PPR, Hopkins averaged 21.72 points a game, and in 2016, Odell 19.35, both 90 percentile in the league for wide receivers. Hopkins saw 11.6 targets to Odell's 10.56. Hopkins averaged 91.87 yards a game to Odell's 85.44. Hopkins just under a full touchdown a game at 0.87, Odell at 0.62. Receptions per game, 6.4 for Hopkins, 6.31 for Odell. Targets per snap, 21.72 for Nuke, 19.35 for OBJ. A true target share of 34% for Hopkins and 28% for Odell. And here's one. It's very similar, but favors Odell Beckham. Red zone target share, 32% Hopkins for his team, 35% for Beckham for his team. Beckham was the 100th percentile in 2016 for red zone target team share for wide receiver share overall. Guys, do you think that Nuke continues as the better wide receiver fantasy-wise this year, or does Beckham, with a pocket full of cash, become the guy this year? Steve, we'll start with you.
I in the league that we just talked about earlier in this podcast, I had the chance to take DeAndre Hopkins over Odell Beckham, and in a half-point PPR, I decided to go with Beckham. I think that when he's on the field, I feel like he just does something more than all the other wide receivers. I know Nuke has got stats. He's also disappeared for years at a time when he has been entirely healthy. And it's just, I think that Odell Beckham, when he's on the field, when he's there, he is going to be the more dynamic player. I also think that getting this huge contract, sometimes people will think that, oh, he got this big deal. He's going to take it easy. He doesn't have to try anymore. I don't think that he's that type of player. I think he's got that kind of passion that he's going to turn that into, okay, I'm going to earn this giant contract. He's the highest paid wide receiver in the league. I think he's going to want to show everyone that he deserves that. And he didn't get the chance to do that last year when it was in a contract year. Everyone was talking about it. He got injured. And so I think he's going to go out and prove it. Nuke, he has every opportunity to do that. I don't think he's any really less talented. I just think that Odell Beckham, all around with everything that's going around on his team and everything, I think he can, outproduce him. And so I will take Odell Beckham. I did take Odell Beckham. I will have him as my wide receiver 2 this year.
Kevin, which way are you leaning?
I lean towards Beckham as well, and I'll tell you why. It's exactly what you said, about the market share. DeAndre Hopkins has been the majority shareholder for his team for a very long time. I have to imagine at some point they want to try to diversify that offense, right? They can't throw him 175 or 72 targets again this year. They just can't do it. I think, you got to expect that defenses will key on him again. He's going to get his. I'm not saying he's not going to be a top tier wide receiver, but I don't think if you diminish his targets, I don't think he's going to get the production that Odell Beckham is. So if you take away an extra target per game for him and he's down in that 10 range like Beckham is, I think Beckham will outproduce him. Also, the red zone targets, I think Eli trusts Odell Beckham in the red zone. Obviously, Nuke's going to get his in the red zone too, but you can see a scenario where Deshaun Watson's running the ball into the end zone or using Lamar Miller a little bit more. Barkley may affect that for Odell Beckham as well, but
cutie. Exactly.
That Will Fuller is, should be healthy this year. He's a big time wide receiver as well. So I just think I think you have to expect that Nuke's volume, or at least I expect Nuke's volume to come down a little bit this year. And that makes me lean more towards Beckham because I think he can be more productive with less.
Will Fuller, incidentally, currently probably questionable for week 1. Likely going to play, but
he'll play.
I got a question. Both of these guys seem to possess a similar skill set. Will Fuller or John Ross? Kevin, who are you taking for a season?
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, Will Fuller has the more documented history, obviously, but
yeah.
I was a much bigger fan of John Ross coming out of college, so I'll lean Ross if healthy. Overall, I think the Bengals offense is going to be a lot better than people expect this year. I think they
were bad last year.
They were very bad last year. But I expect a big rebound, and you can get AJ Green so late. We were talking about this in the chat earlier, Steve. I think you were both recommending AJ Green to somebody because the value is just so phenomenal on him right now.
Don't get ahead of yourself. He's coming up.
Right. My bad. Sorry. Continue on.
All right, so the next group of running backs coming in at number 18 is Devonta Freeman, and coming in at number 14 is Dalvin Cook. Now, here's a dilemma I had this week. I was drafting for us in the Sleeper Wire Pro-Am. And
terribly, I might add.
The team looks fantastic. And I did go with Odell Beckham Jr., by the way, in the first round, and this is why I don't like taking a wide receiver early. I did not like the way it ended up playing out, and I had to grab Devonta Freeman. While Dalvin Cook was still on the board, I took Devonta Freeman because I'm hearing the stories about Latavius Murray, and I'm hearing how much he's going to be involved, and I'm hearing about the goal line work. And some of those statistics are true. So I'm going to get your guys' opinion on this because I did not ask you your opinion during the draft. Comparison of last year between these two guys in full point PPR. Devonta Freeman averaged 14.8 points a game. In the 4 games that Dalvin Cook played, he averaged 17.35. Freeman, 3.36 targets a game, 4 even for Cook. Freeman averaged 61.79 yards a game, 88.5 for Cook. Both of them were right at 22.5 points, 22.5 receiving yards a game. Freeman averaged 4.4 yards a carry, 4.78 for Cook. We don't really care about per average. We care about volume, right, in fantasy. And both guys, 0.57, so a half a touchdown a game for Freeman and a half a touchdown a game for Cook. I think that's really all the 14.8 carries for Freeman and 17.35 for Cook. So volume there. Red zone carry percentage, 49% to Freeman, only 12% to Cook. But I think that's affected by the fact that he wasn't there, obviously, the whole season. So, Kevin, starting with you, Devonta Freeman, or do you feel comfortable that Dalvin Cook will be the full touch getter in that backfield?
No, I'm going with Freeman, and it's probably the unpopular choice, I guess, although they're pretty close in ADP, so maybe it's not. But for me, except for his rookie year, Devonta Freeman has never finished lower than 13th in the positional rank for fantasy football. So 3 straight years, 13th or better, including 2015 when he was the #1 running back, according to Pro Football Reference. So, the production's there. You know what it's going to be. The Falcons have one of the better offensive lines in the game. They have a offense that was down last year, but should, be relatively consistent week to week. And they're going to give him the ball. He's going to get a decent amount of carries. He had 196 last year, which was down, from the previous 2 years, but that's because he only played 14 games. He's very good, and he's being very disrespected, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with that. I think that Devonta Freeman has gotten he's dropped a little further than he should. But if I were staring at the draft board, I was taking a running back, and both of those guys were on the board, I probably would lean Dalvin Cook. We saw what he did last year when he was healthy. We saw the workload that they gave him because of the talent that he has. Latavius Murray was also healthy for those 4 games, and he was available. He was available. They could have used him. They could, if Latavius Murray was good enough to be used during those games, they would have done that. They chose not to because Dalvin Cook's better.
It's a 4-game staple.
Yeah.
Latavius Murray, it's important to remember, was coming back from a leg injury at the beginning of the year also, so he was limited. Once he got the opportunity.
There was also Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, Jerick McKinnon
should tell you something
starting running back for the San Francisco 49ers, who is a 3rd round draft pick right now, was a 2nd round, but now is a 3rd round. Also, like Kevin said, should say a lot about that. But no, I will take Dalvin Cook. I will take him, not, obviously like, it's, you can just take him above him. He's going to be so much better, but I believe that if he is healthy, I think they're preserving him during this preseason. I think they know that Latavius Murray is there if they need him, but I think they also know that Dalvin Cook is better and he's a better talent, and they will use him and they will give him every opportunity possible to succeed. I'm not worried.
I'm worried about Steve.
I'm worried about Steve right now too. He froze. I feel like he must know that he's wrong is what the problem is. So he just, his screen froze to try and save him from saying more stupid things.
Trying to censor me?
Yeah. The Google's hard at work. So this was the first one that you guys disagreed on. So since I took Devonta Freeman in that draft, I leaned Devonta Freeman. It's 2-1 Freeman. Steve, you lose. Next 2 players that are up.
Right.
This one should be interesting. I'm very interested to hear what goes on here. And is he gone, Kevin? Did we lose him completely?
I think he's still frozen, so we'll keep moving along. Go ahead. He'll catch up.
I want to make sure Steve could hear all this good stuff. So coming in at number 20 overall is Devonta Adams. And at 21 overall is A.J. Green. So I already know where Steve is going here. But actually, I'm pretty interested to hear Steve on this one. Last year, full point PPR, 16.25 points per game without Aaron Rodgers for Devonta Adams. Devontae Adams. I'm saying Devonta after Devonta Freeman. AJ Green averaged 14.84. Both were right in the same range with receiving targets. 18.43 for Adams, 8.43 and 8.94 for AJ Green. 63.21 receiving yards for Adams, 67.19 for Green. Receiving touchdowns for Adams, 0.71, 0.5 for AJ Green. Receptions, 5.29 a game for Adams, 4.69 a game for Green. Target per snap, 16.25. Adams, 14.84 Green. Red zone target, 35% to Devonta Adams and 30% to AJ Green. Where AJ Green has a significant advantage is 50% of the deep target share in his offense goes to him, where only 30% of the deep target share goes to Adams. Jordy Nelson is gone. He was typically the deep threat there. So, Steve, we'll start with you. Is it your old reliable, or are you making a switch over to a guy who wears green, not named Green?
I still like AJ Green. I'm going to go back to old reliable. Like we mentioned earlier, the Bengals offense as a whole was down last year.
Hey, Steve, can you hear me?
What?
You're cutting out. You're cutting out really bad. So I'm going to ask you if you would maybe check out and then relog back in, and I'll have Kevin make his point real quick, and then we'll get back to your point. Does that sound good? He's gone. Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah. So this one's actually really tough for me. I want to say AJ Green because he is old and reliable, and you kind of know what you're going to get out of him. It was a down year last year, and he's still fairly productive. I think that they're going to rebound this year. I do think that AJ Green's going to be back to that top tier wide receiver because he's the best thing in that offense. Their offensive line should be a little bit more improved, and Andy Dalton should rebound, and at least in a regular season. If it was playoff, I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. But having said all that, it's really hard to argue with Aaron Rodgers, top receiver. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is just so good. You know that they're going to throw the ball. The thing that, I think that makes me a little more apt to take AJ Green is I'm not 100% certain that, Adams is going to get the goal line red zone looks exclusively. I think, the numbers there might be a little bit more down compared to AJ Green, especially with Jimmy Graham coming in. He's going to be a huge red zone target for them. They have running backs that can run the ball in the red zone. So, and Randall Cobb is just a very trustworthy, receiver for Aaron Rodgers as well. So I think I'd still lean towards AJ Green, but it's very, very close.
Steve is back with us. Steve, go ahead and ramble on about AJ Green. I guess Steve cannot hear us. Steve, can you hear me? What's that, Steve?
Wow. So we're still having struggles here. So
well, we're going to ask Steve.
Hear everything you say.
We could barely hear anything that you're saying. We're going to ask you to just take your computer and fire it against the wall. We're going to say that there he goes. His computer turned. Steve was definitely going to rattle off why he loves AJ Green, why he always loves AJ Green, and we're hoping he could get this situated, because without Steve, this whole segment's just not going to work.
Yeah, it doesn't work, because then I'm just always right, and nobody wants that.
No, it's rare. Very rare.
Can you hear me right now at all?
It's very faded in and out, Steve. The good news is tonight, when you actually edit this podcast, Steve, you're going to cut all of this out.
Yeah, that's right. So
you people enjoying this horror show on YouTube, thank you for sticking around.
2 of them now. We've lost viewers, so we apologize to everyone watching at YouTube, and for those of you listening on the pod, hopefully you're not ever going to hear this, and he actually remembers to cut this out. So,
Steve, so Kevin, I think AJ Green won that one for you guys.
Who would it have been for you, Sal? Since we need some kind of differing opinion here.
I would definitely go with Devontae Adams this year.
Hands down, not even a question for you.
Yeah. I had a chance to take AJ Green in my old school league this year, and it's not that I felt he wasn't a good value where I was taking him, but I wanted to go in a different direction. I took Kelsey a little early. Different size league, smaller league, and in that league, when you could grab 1, 2, or 3 of the elite in a position, you do it. And I was able to get Diggs in a wraparound when it came back to me. And Diggs is one of the 2 guys in the next group that I'm going to bring up. And Adam Thielen is going 30th overall right now in ADP, and Stephon Diggs is going 32nd. So this has been much debate this offseason. Thielen did leave with a leg injury today, but it was reported that there was nothing of significance to worry about and that he will be fine to start for week 1. So, Kevin, Steve is back. Hopefully we can hear him. We're talking about Adam Thielen coming in at 30, Steve. Stephon Diggs coming in at 32. Let's take a look at last year's stats in full PPR. Adam Thielen, 15.86 a game. Stephon Diggs, 14.32. Here's where the difference is usually made with these 2 guys. Receiving targets for Thielen, 8.94, so almost 9 a game to just 6.79 for Diggs. 79.81 yards a game for Thielen, just 60.64 for Diggs. There's the difference maker as well, favored Diggs. 0.25 touchdowns a game, so only a quarter of a touchdown a game for Thielen, while Diggs averages over a half a touchdown a game, 0.57. 5.69 receptions for Thielen, 4.57 for Diggs. Red zone target percentage, 26% to Adam Thielen, which bests Stephon Diggs at 23%. And the deep target percentage also favored Adam Thielen by almost 9%. 38% of the Vikings' deep passes last year went to Adam Thielen, while only 29% went to Stephon Diggs. So a guy who you think is the big play receiver in that offense actually got less deep passes last year. So, Steve, if you can speak, we're going to start with you. Adam Thielen or Stephon Diggs?
If I had the choice, and you can tell me if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, baby. Go ahead.
All right. If I had the choice, I would wait a little bit to get Thielen. I would try and hold off a little bit, and because Stephon Diggs is the big name, he's the splash player, but Thielen is the tried and true guy. He is the high floor player, which is what I prefer to go for. I don't care about the ceiling as much when you're playing redraft. I care about the floor. You want to get into the playoffs, and then anything can happen from there. So Adam Thielen is the guy that I would be aiming for. He's just a little bit better value, and I think he is a little more reliable week to week.
Thielen's going ahead of Diggs, by the way.
Yeah, 2. So Thielen ahead of Diggs in ADP now.
Oh, I'll take him. Sorry, I missed the first part of that. I apologize.
So Steve's whole position is that the value is better. 2 picks earlier. I'm going to go ahead and say that.
Did I say value? I meant rightfully so.
If you're going to force me to take either of these guys, I'm probably going to take. I'm probably in full PPR. I'm probably going to take Diggs because I think that he's the type that will get more receptions per games. And I know you just went through all those stats, Sal, and it's incredible that you can look up all that different stuff on the quant edge. I mean, it's just amazing what they put together for you. But I will say that I feel like Diggs is the type of guy that can catch 12 passes a game. And I don't know that Thielen's going to do that. He might have a game here and there, but not regularly. So Steve, I disagree with you a little bit that Thielen's floor is going to be higher. I think Diggs is the guy with the safest floor. And so I'm going to take him there. But to be honest with you, I'm not taking either of these guys because I don't love the value of either of them at 30 or 32 respectively, because I think you could probably take another running back in that same general area and then get some decent wide receivers that aren't that far down in my rankings another round or 2 later.
All right. So, you guys are split, but Kevin also said that if he was forced to take him, he would take there. I'm leaning Diggs more. I was Thielen coming into the offseason. I like them both. You know, I think you're going to get good value with both of them, or at least a good player with both of them. Maybe the value is not fantastic. And we'll let Steve close it out before we move on to the next grouping.
How many times has Stephon Diggs played a full season?
It wasn't my turn to watch him.
How many, Steve?
0.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
0.
You know what? My
Adam Thielen has always played. He's not missed a game.
Except for the first 4 seasons where he was irrelevant. But, you know, who's counting that?
Obviously you.
I'll change my answer to Thielen when he's a Patriot in 2 years.
Nice. White receiver, guaranteed to be a Patriot at some point. All right, guys, as we move along.
My stat about Adam Thielen is completely false, just so you guys know.
We should probably try to get these wrapped up a little bit quicker because I have a ton of them, and we've only gotten through 5.
Is Steve ever going to say anything accurate tonight?
No. What are you asking, a magic 8 ball? Unlikely. Not likely. Anyway, moving on to coming in as a pair of running backs at 38, Alex Collins. We spoke about him earlier. And at 39, Derrick Henry. You know, obviously we know Henry is going to be sharing time with Lewis. In the preseason, it's been really almost down the middle. And we know he's going to get the pass catching work in that offense. But I also pointed out earlier in the preseason that Javoris Allen has been on the field as much as Alex Collins in the preseason and has gotten all of the third down work. So while Henry's been my guy all along, I personally, bless you, Kevin, even though I didn't hear it, I saw it. I personally actually like Alex Collins a little bit more, but I'm going to give you the stats. I'm going to let you guys tell me. Last year, and this was with Derrick Henry playing mostly behind with DeMarco Murray, Alex Collins averaged just under 12 points a game and in full PPR. Derrick Henry, 8.81. RB targets a game, 2.4 to Collins, believe it or not, 1.06 to Derrick Henry. Rushing yards, 65.13 for Collins, 46.5 for Henry. Receiving yards, a whopping 12.47, and an even less exciting 8.5 for Derrick Henry. Yards per carry, 4.61 for Collins, 4.23 for Henry. Both guys average just about 0.4 touchdowns a game. And the last statistic, red zone carry percentage, Alex Collins, 34% to Derrick Henry's 44%. Steve has got all kinds of hand gestures, emotions. Go, Steve.
Stop the presses. I will not answer this question. I will not allow Kevin to answer this question. This is your question. These are 2 guys that you have been all over the last 2 years. All the entire time we've had a podcast, you've been Derrick Henry, Alex Collins. You love these guys. This is your question. Who do you take? I've not heard these names the entire time we've been leading into this season. They both have starting roles. They both are in line for the majority of volume on their teams. Why are you not talking about both of these guys as finally having their shot?
Well, I will give Kevin credit. He's an Alex Collins guy as well. And I think he's an Alex Collins guy going back to Seattle at times. So I did.
Fair. That is fair.
I happened to jump on Alex Collins last year in the Falafel League before he got the starting position because, as Kevin has pointed out, I have had that knack in the Falafel League to get a guy a week before he hits. So naturally, I became a Collins guy, and he'll be a keeper this year for me because of how great he played. Okay. I have been a big Derrick Henry truther.
Okay.
I was so disappointed when they signed Deion Lewis. So disappointed because I really thought Henry would get the true opportunity, and he's going to start in a sense of starting. But it really has been a split volume in the preseason. I do like Collins more. For 2018, I would draft Alex Collins over Derrick Henry. If we're talking dynasty, I'm still going to take Henry because I don't know how long Collins is going to last. And they don't have a lot invested in him. I believe they only gave him a 1-year deal.
Collins is young, right? He's only 24.
He's not an old guy, but why would they only
He's
give him
24.
Why
You're
would
not
they?
allowed to say he's not an old guy. He's half
I
your
can't
age.
say anybody in the NFL.
He's half your age.
Anyway, my request to get through these quick. Obviously, Steve didn't appreciate that. I'll let Kevin just. He wants to say something. I think about Alex Collins.
Collins is actually younger than Derrick Henry. Just throwing that out there.
There you go.
So he's by 246 days or something like that. He's actually younger than Derrick Henry. But look, I think the signing of Dion Lewis is pretty clear evidence that they don't have the full faith of Derrick Henry to be an every down back. I don't think anyone's expecting him to get 25 carries a game. We don't know if Alex Collins is going to get 25 carries a game, but he's got a better shot at it than Derrick Henry, in my opinion, because the only real, competition for him is, like you said, Javorius Allen or Buck Allen or whatever Allen you want to call him may get third down work. And then there's my guy, Kenneth Dixon, who's still on the roster, who may get some carries as well. He's not going to get that many carries. We think Alex Collins
Dixon looked good in the last preseason game I watched him play, and I was like, oh, damn.
That's my guy. That's the guy. He should look good until he gets hurt, and then he won't play anymore. So, but look, I think Alex Collins has the clearer path to more volume, and that's what we're looking for with these guys, because these aren't the studs that are going to create their own game. They need volume.
All right, these next groupings, I'll give me which guy, and then some of them I'll get a little bit deeper in. So just say which guy you would take in this 59th overall, Dion Lewis, 61st overall, Marshawn Lynch. Kevin.
Give me Lynch.
Wow. All right.
Very difficult for me to say that. You know how hard that was for me.
Very hard. Lynch just climbed up the board recently, and that's great. So 3 of us for Lynch. Yes.
You wouldn't let me answer earlier. I think Lewis on Tennessee is going to hurt a lot of people.
I wanted to let you answer, and then you put the question back over to me. It's not that I didn't let you. You basically handed it back off to me.
That's factually correct.
So
try to pay attention, Steve.
You chose not to answer.
No.
Coming in at 63, our first tight end grouping, 63, Delaney Walker, 65, Kyle Rudolph. Last year, full PPR, 11.3 for Walker, 9.89 for Rudolph. Receiving yards a game, 50+ for Walker, 33 for Rudolph. Receiving touchdowns, this is where Rudolph outdid him. 0.19 only for Walker last year and 0.5 for Rudolph. Red zone target share, exactly 26% for both guys. And deep target share favored Delaney Walker at 23% and Kyle Rudolph with only 12. Steve, who do you take here? They're going 2 spots apart.
Everyone healthy, I think I would lean slightly towards Delaney Walker. He's been the guy has been that right around fringe player, tight end 4, tight end 5, depending on his health and all that kind of stuff. So I think he's got the chance to creep back up a little bit. Kyle Rudolph, a guy that flashed last year, more of his average is towards the mid, 6 to 10 round. So I would lean Delaney Walker. They're so close. I have no problem either way.
Kev?
Give me. I really don't like Walker this year. I feel like this might be the year he really falls off. And I know I'm going to say that, and then he's going to do exactly what he's done every year. But so I guess I'll go with Rudolph, just out of, whatever.
Those guys are close though, right?
Yeah, but I mean, here's the other thing. I'm not taking a tight end in the 6th round. I'm just not. There's no way I'm taking a tight end in the 6th round.
Wait for Njoku in the 9th or 10th round.
I was going to say, you're talking Njoku, Kittle, Eifert, OJ Howard, Ebron. I mean, these are all after the 10th round.
What about Ingram in the 6th round of a 16-team league?
Nope. Not doing it.
By the way, Eifert, Adam Levitan, who does the DraftKings snap percentage, wrote this week that Eifert played.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Eifert played a lot of snaps with the first team offense, but only played on pass catching routes. So they are looking to preserve him and not have him on the field in blocking situations. So they're going to manage the way he plays and try to have him out there in red zone and third down situations. So he's a guy who could be real interesting where you're getting him if they can keep him healthy all year.
Here's the thing: you can get him in the 11th round, and then you can turn around the next round and get yourself OJ Howard, and then just stream the two. And if Eifert hits, you're in great shape. Or you can wait till the 14th round and take Ben Watson or Austin Hooper to pair with.
It's not that easy though. You can't just you can't just draft a guy that's only going to be used in passing down situations and not used at all. That's not how you draft a tight end. You have to. That's not great.
How is that not how you drafted? You wait. So just to be clear, you don't want the tight end that's going to get all of the red zone looks and passing situations.
No,
I do.
I do.
You play leagues where you get points for blocks.
No, but I just would rather have my tight end be on the field more often.
Not when it's a guy like Eifert who's established as a reliable target for his quarterback
for half the league.
I get what you're saying.
The season,
you're talking about younger guys where you don't know what kind that he's going to be a trusted receiver. Sure, you want him on the field as much as possible, but if they're bringing Eifert in, that means they want to use him.
All right, boys, separate. 67 and 68 overall. Tevin Coleman, Rex Burkhead. Just tell me, Steve, who are you taking from those two?
I hate you. I'll take Tevin Coleman. I don't trust Rex Burkhead anymore to stay healthy.
Steve, Kevin, you're the Patriot guy. Who are you taking here?
Yeah, it's going to be Coleman for me because I do think that I'm not as big on Burkhead as everyone else is this year. I think that he falls off a little bit. There is injury history there, but I think with the other weapons in there, James White and Sony Michel, he's gonna struggle a little bit. He's a goal line guy for me this year.
Okay, our first QB pair to come in at 90 overall is Andrew Luck. At 92 overall is Matthew Stafford. On TQE, I chose to use Andrew Luck's 2016 season to compare the two. So last year, Stafford averaged 19.29 points a game and Luck 22.85. They both averaged right around the same amount of passing attempts, 35 and 36. Yardage 276 for Stafford, 282 for Luck. Yards per attempt 7.81 for Stafford, 7.79 for Luck. Passing touchdowns a game, Stafford 1.81, Luck plus 2.07. Rushing attempts, I don't know how this factors in for these two particular guys, but 1.81 for Stafford, 4.27 for Luck, and Luck significantly more rushing yards at 22.73 a game. And touchdowns 0.62 and 0.87 Stafford and Luck respectively. Kevin, I know you're all over Luck. We talked while you missed the beginning of the show about the foot injury this week and how he's not going to practice again until next Monday. Does that dial him back for you at all, or are you just still all on board the Luck train?
I'm still on board the Luck train. I'm surprised that they're that close in ADP, I guess. This is really tough because Stafford's another one of the guys that I love taking as a quarterback because he's just so safe. So I'm going to lean Stafford, but if I feel like I have a pretty good all-around roster before I get to this point, if I'm really comfortable with my players, I'm going to take the chance on Luck because the upside is top 5 QB. Whereas I know Stafford's probably going to be in that 6 to 8 range. I think that's where he's going to finish. And it's, maybe at worst you get 10, but Luck, he could be anywhere from 18 to 2. And so it's really going to be roster based for me.
Steve?
I would say the same exact thing. I think that you could actually construct your roster throughout the beginning of the draft where you could take both of these guys. You could take Luck and then Stafford back to back and mitigate all of your losses and, accentuate all the upside with Luck with the high ceiling, Stafford with the high floor. You can get both of those guys and you can be absolutely fine throughout the entirety of your season. So I would go Luck if you had to choose one, but you could absolutely end up with both of them and be absolutely fine.
Okay, here's a pairing. I'm interested in the responses to this one. At 96 is a guy that Kevin was really high on this year, Jamison Crowder.
Crowder.
At 97 is Robbie Anderson. Now let's look at last year's stats. Kevin's shaking his head about Robbie Anderson, but Robbie Anderson averaged nearly 2 full points more in full PPR a game at 13.19 to Crowder's 11.22. Anderson saw a higher percentage of targets, 7.12 or 7.12 targets a game and 6.87. He averaged 6 yards more per game than Crowder. He averaged more touchdowns, 0.2 to 0.44 in Anderson's favor. Receptions per game is where Crowder did more with the targets, 4.4 to 3.94. In deep red zone, a red zone target was 21% to 20, favoring Crowder. So close. And deep targets significantly higher, obviously, for Robbie Anderson, because that was his game. 42% of the Jets' deep targets last year went to Robbie Anderson, while only 13% went to Crowder. So we know he's not the deep threat guy there. He's more of the short game guy. So are we dismissing Robbie Anderson? Is Robbie Anderson not being drafted where he should be as a guy that could absolutely be explosive this year, Kevin?
Yeah, he's being drafted probably where he should be, if not a little high, in my opinion, because I am so far off of Robbie Anderson. It's not even funny. You're talking about a guy that is an incredibly volatile talent, an incredibly volatile human being, and playing on an offense that we have no idea what it's going to really look like, and they'll have a rookie QB. Meanwhile, on the other side, you're talking about a wide receiver who's been very consistent and reliable, plays a great short to intermediate, route tree, and is now paired up with the quarterback 4 from last year who loves throwing short and intermediate passes. Yeah, give me all the Crowder all day long on this one.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with any of that. I would rather have Crowder than Robbie Anderson. I understand the upside. If you're playing best ball, Robbie Anderson, definitely a guy that you'd want to target. But if you're going redraft, which is the season that we are in, I'm taking Jamison Crowder all day long.
Very good. Let's move along to just give me who you would take here, Steve. Coming in at back-to-back, number 98, Randall Cobb, number 99, Jordy Nelson, no longer teammates. Where are you going to go if you have to make a decision between these two guys?
I will go with Jordy Nelson. I think that Derek Carr is going to have he's going to regress a little bit in terms of average depth of target, and I think that Jordy Nelson is going to be the reason because of that. So I will take Jordy Nelson. He is not done.
Kevin.
This one's really close for me as well. I think Jordy Nelson is going to be better than people think. I think that he's going to fit in that offense pretty well, and so I will take Jordy Nelson. It's close.
Okay, real quick, who would you take from these two guys? Starting with Kevin, a Steve Marcus favorite in Jack Doyle, or a Sal Leto favorite in David Njoku?
Njoku, hands down.
Steve.
Oh, that's.
Did you see Ebron catch 5 passes?
You just did Steve dirty.
I don't care about Ebron at all. Ebron has nothing to do with this.
First team receptions and a touchdown last game of block. Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, I don't hear this question at all, and I'm just like, oh no, what about Ebron? It's more Njoku's athleticism that concerns me more than Ebron's anything. His presence, his life, anything. I will take Njoku slightly, but Doyle is not bad at all. I will take Njoku because I think he's got an opportunity to really make that next step.
I'll tell you this before I move on to the next grouping. My friend Brian, who Seven Red, that's his company, we were talking about this the other day, and Eric Ebron and a Steve Marcus favorite in Sterling Shepard are both guys who had children this offseason, and are both guys who have discussed being more mature individuals and more focused on life because they now have children in their lives and wanting to be in this league longer, specifically Ebron saying that. So I take some of that stuff into consideration. He finished very strong last year, the last 4 weeks of the season. He is in with the first team, Doyle has been the guy there that Luck is more comfortable with. There's no doubt about that. I'm not saying he's going to be much better than Doyle, but I do think that it'll affect both players that they are both there. Yes, Ken.
Listen, having had to miss the first 10 minutes of this podcast to go up and deal with a screaming child, I can assure you that they both want to be on the field as much as possible.
Maybe they both want to play as much as possible to avoid the children.
That's what I'm saying. They need to be away from their children.
I will say, as Kevin has missed the first 10 minutes of this podcast, we've already gone 10 minutes too long because we tried to accommodate for that, and we must end this now.
No, you're going to edit out the crap in the middle where you disappeared, and we're going to make this work, and we're going to get my last two in. And so at 120,
Steve.
At 123,
right.
Dak Prescott at 123, Marcus Mariota at 124. Steve, pick one.
Mariota, easily.
Yeah, it's Mariota. It's very easy.
Wow, I would lean Dak.
Would you really? Why? Real quick, why?
Because I do think that the weapons are going to be better than you expect. I do think that Dak has been a more poised player in his 2 seasons than I feel like Mariota has been. I feel Mariota has been prone to injury, and I just don't think he is. I think he's a better NFL quarterback than he is a fantasy quarterback, and Dak has done well in his first 2 seasons for his fantasy numbers. Let's close it out with these two guys, maybe insignificant to most, but back-to-back teammates, 143, LeGarrette Blount, 144, Theo Riddick. This is full point PPR that we're talking about. Who are you going to take here? It's late. You're taking a guy to fill out your roster. Steve.
That's a tough one. I lean slightly LeGarrette Blount because I still think he has a nose for the end zone, and touchdowns are what matter most in fantasy football. But Theo Riddick, if he can stay healthy, we have seen what he's been able to do. So he is a viable running back option. Definitely if you're going 0 RB, but so is LeGarrette Blount. Both of these guys are going so entirely late. I would still go LeGarrette Blount, even though he's not got 0 PPR value. He's got touchdown value, and I think I lean a little bit more towards that than catches.
I'm completely the opposite. I will take Theo Riddick because at that point, I'm looking for a guy with a safe floor for my bye week fill-ins and nothing more, and that's the guy that I want. I think he's going to catch 3 to 4 passes a game at minimum, and you can count on that for some good points.
That's fair.
Yeah, by the way, he was targeted 4 times a game last year and caught 3 point. He caught. It would be great if I had that in front of me. He caught a lot of those. I don't have it in front of me. Anyway,
hey, Steve, we'll go ahead and edit this out.
I'll take Theo Riddick. I've been taking him a lot. Been taking him a lot late. And by the way, 1 rushing touchdown last week in the game for the Lions, and it was Theo Riddick who ran it in from 10 yards out. All right. Fantastic use of the Quant Edges head-to-head tool tonight. Go check them out. 10% off if you use FF Funhouse before August 31st. I wouldn't waste any more time. Do it.
All right. Thank you guys for checking out this episode of the Fantasy Football Funhouse. You can check us out on Twitter at FF Funhouse. You can check out fantasyfootballfunhouse.com and Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. That's it.
We'd just like to remind you guys to check out our partners over at gridironexperts.com. You can find our show directly on their feed, and you can find a ton of great articles and some other podcasts as well. The FF Face-Off guys, 2 good dudes, one from Jersey, one from Long Island. So how could they not be great? Also, the Quan Edge, as we said. And, Kevin Reno.
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone that we do have a new feed if you're somehow picking this up on YouTube or if you're checking us out on Gridiron Experts, or if you're listening to us on our old feed, which is still active for a little while longer. You want to switch over and make sure you look up Fantasy Football Funhouse on wherever you get your podcast, or everywhere you can think of, with the exception of SoundCloud. We haven't gotten on there yet, but go over there. Subscribe to the new feed, rate, review us. We'd really appreciate that. It'll help us out a lot. And, once again, remind everyone to add a charitable aspect to your fantasy football playing experience. Whether you donate a league fee, get together as a group and do something nice for the community, whatever you want to do, just add it to your leagues. Check out fantasycares.net. You can go there and join, all kinds of leagues and things like that. It'll help enhance your fantasy playing experience. We will be back on Thursday with another fun-filled episode of the Fantasy Football Funhouse. And until then, have fun.